Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against, a live Flesh and Blood call-in show. I'm joined by my constant co-host Kevin Smurf Murphy. Kevin, what's up? You're muted.
Recovering from Hartford and on push to talk because, yeah.
I'm going to try to be quick about telling you when you're muted. Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you like to be on air talking with us about your take, join the Discord by clicking on the link that's in the description, and Kevin is put into Twitch chat. Then join the waiting room channel, put your hot take in the topics channel, and if we like your take, we'll pull you on, give you a mic check, and then pull you on air. Wait, what are you drinking tonight? Because in a glass like that, what'd you say?
Whiskey.
Oh. I thought you were going to surprise me by drinking out of a whiskey glass with the Arizona tea beside you. And I was like, oh, is it tea? Tea in the whiskey glass for tonight?
I mean, tea plus whiskey is pretty good, so.
I don't know anything about that. Was there anything you wanted to start off with, talk about? No?
I don't think so.
No? Nothing big, nothing pressing?
Not from me. I guess one thing that kind of came up in Hartford was some of the judge calls were a little weird. They apparently had a lot of judges in training.
Oh.
This weekend.
Well, that's a good thing and a bad thing.
It is a good thing. We need judges. That's just it's a competitive game. We need them. Yeah. And then there were a lot of just weird calls where, like, I assume you're familiar with Beast Within and how it works.
Yes. Beast Within's great. And actually, I do know how it works very well because I played it a lot in Blitz and UPF.
What happens if you trigger Beast Within on an empty deck?
Nothing.
That's not what the judge said.
Oh. What does the judge say? Auto lose?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Infinitely.
That's not how that works.
Infinitely.
It does not how that works.
No, because you can't lose a life on Beast Within's text.
Yikes.
You can't lose a life unless you have banished a card, right?
Ooh.
So that's one judge call that I know of that
hopefully that got
not
pushed.
A fan of.
Hopefully that got escalated to a different, better call.
All right.
You think it didn't?
I don't know that it did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Get a second opinion if you are very confident with your deck and you think you need it.
Yes. Don't be afraid to call judges. 2, don't be afraid to appeal a judge call, especially if there's a bunch of new judges at the event. Like, I know that Amanda had her hands full. Yeah. She was doing a lot of work at this event as the head judge.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of calls appealed to her, is my understanding. But the standard was not quite there yet. But again, lots of new judges. I don't know if that's quite the event where I'd want that to be happening. If you have to pick between a calling or a battle hardened where you're going to train new judges.
I mean, obviously,
I'm going to pick a battle hardened.
Yeah.
If I'm going to pick between a calling and a nationals to train new judges, I'm going to pick a calling.
Actually, that'll come up later too. I want to talk about that. Calling versus battle hardened. But first, do you want to go grab our first caller as we talk about what they want to talk about?
Sure.
Heck yeah.
BRB.
I'm going to read off who has followed us in the last week. We got a couple of followers. We got Sid Swami. Sid has been playing UPF with us on the Casual Fab Discord where we play Casual Fab. We also got a follow from Daughter of Shades. Pat Smash Good. Pat, that's got to be Mr. Pat from Off the Rails TCG. Love that guy. Also played UPF with him. 3 minutes ago, we got a follow by Bunted Dragon. We got a follow by somebody. But first, we got a caller. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
What's up? This is Charles, aka the Armed Pit.
Yo!
And just yeah, long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah, awesome. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Well, I guess I wanted to talk about UPF and its current state and where where it's at right now.
Heck yeah. Kevin, you're a professional player. So that means you're playing a lot of UPF to prep for UPF drafts in heavy hitters, right? No. Okay. Then we'll move on from that. All right. So actually, me and Charles were talking about a UPF tier list about the quality of heroes in UPF, which is just a entirely funny concept in general because, like, you know, oftentimes it's just the person who does the best politics or the person who's been in second place the longest ends up actually winning the UPF game. But it is interesting to talk about because obviously there are pros and cons to picking different heroes and how the table perceives them, how they play into a group setting. What's your thoughts on this? You want to elaborate? Charles?
Yeah, so
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's specs to consider when it comes to like what hero is quote unquote objectively the best hero for the format. One thing I don't think is talked about a lot is that fear factor that comes from the other formats leaking into UPF.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think if you play like a hero that's considered top tier in the other formats, I think you're more likely to invoke fear in the other players too, and not want to take the chance to like, leave you alone.
True.
So yeah, I would say like the UPF exclusive heroes definitely have an advantage in that sense. So the adjudicators and I guess like the worst kept secret as far as who's the best hero in that format, Taylor.
Taylor is insane, starting at like basically like 40 health in UPF or however much she effectively starts at is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
just a fatigue monster.
Yeah, totally. Like, we like to talk about the fridge. She has the walk-in freezer. It's absolutely insane. So
that's 100%.
And then, and then top of that, because you don't see her in other formats, I think it's very easy for people to underestimate her because it's like, well, she just has generics.
Yeah.
What's the harm? And, the harm is they can casually just keep their entire grip anytime they want to. That's the harm. And adapt to any situation because they get to switch out every turn a piece of equipment. So, So,
I mean, generic has some of the most busted cards in the game, right? Like, belittle minimalism.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Freaking drone of brutality. CNC pummel. Like, I mean, these are all like super strong cards or combos, and she definitely. I mean, everyone has access to them, but like it's just good. It's just it's a really solid deck, and so I don't know if did you build a tier list for this, or do you just have opinions on this? Because I built a tier list.
I have general ideas of where every hero goes. I haven't fully built it out yet.
So how about I put sorry, I'm sending a message. I made a tier list. Do you want me to put it on and then we can both like look over and talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So I'm gonna switch over to this. Ignore the text. This is just the slide I have up for when we were playing Tau Shot earlier, and this is my tier list. So to start off, the way that I built this tier list, because UPF is a odd format, and I also talked to Kevin a bit about this too. The way I built it was archetypes, right? So certain archetypes are more susceptible to being targeted by the rest of the group, right? So at the bottom, even though it's green, at the bottom, the worst tier is probably Archenemy, which is when you sit down with this deck, everyone knows to kill you. If you're playing Viscerai,
right,
and everyone's at 20 health, they should kill you. Kano, the specific Briar list that I have, or
Can I take
Benji,
issue with
right?
this already?
Okay, all right, I'm here.
Why the frick are Prisms not in the Archenemy tier?
They're board state decks. This Prism definitely should be.
No, they're Archenemy tier.
They're Archenemy tier?
They're Archenemy tier.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd move them
You've
down.
seen what happens to Mara.
Yeah, she does absolutely get, like, murked.
They're Archenemy
Yeah,
tier.
that
I got
that
Kevin.
definitely plays into the
Kevin on here, too.
psych. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that definitely plays into the fear.
Yeah. So, yeah, like LL Heroes is an example of what you were saying, where you were like, these opinions that people have of CC carry over, and it's like, well, Prism was a monstrosity. And so much so that she, that she, LL'd. And so that's just a real terror to have in UPF. So the next section I had was just a more catch-all for people just wanting to play their game plan and their decks, which is just pet decks. These decks aren't particularly designed necessarily for UPF, but they're also not like designed for making everyone hate them.
Right. I like how you have Rudy there. I like how you have Rudy there, even though he's not legal. Yeah,
Rudy counts.
Yeah.
Rudy counts.
No, he should not. And honestly, here's the thing too. He's got that that factor of, because of how ridiculous the deck is, easily underestimated. He's
true.
Stupidly good. Like, Diamond Hands is insane. I don't think people really get that. Like, someone could build him very optimally and 6-7 card hands every turn. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, his deck is can be pretty crazy. I've got to see it in person in a UPF game, and it was very silly. They ended up tying because they had a Drone of Brutality draw. The next tier up, though, is group hug decks, which these decks are obviously... I think it's easier to win with a group hug deck, because if you're offering something to the table, it's easier to make, political bargains and trades. But then also, it means you're not out the gate winning, which is so important, because if you're not out the gate winning, you're not the threat, you're not the target, you're probably going to last longer. You'll at least make second or third, but I think actually there's a much higher chance of you winning. I've seen Squizzy win 3 games of... I think 3 out of the 4 games I played with Squizzy won. Not me playing him, but somebody playing him. He's actually insane.
Yeah, Squizzy is surprisingly successful in this format. A part of me is are people just that greedy? But no, I think Squizzy's just a legit voice.
I think Ridge did a play where he had CNC, Pummel, and a blue in hand, and he cracked a gold with the blue, drew another blue, and was able to play CNC Pummel off of what was originally a 3-card hand, because of all the gold that Squizzy makes. Right. And then obviously, I think the best archetype in UPF right now is Fatigue, and I think it's going to be that way until there becomes more of a rhetoric around UPF where people need to start targeting these decks more, right? Everyone should just start trying to kill Taylor out of the gate. if you cannot hit Taylor, you should be passing your turn so you don't apply pressure to the people who are hitting Taylor. Like, that deck needs to be removed from the board. But like other decks like Yoji, for example, absolutely can do this. I think some of the Olympia builds could probably do this, and Rhinar. Oldham. Oldham could be absolutely disgusting in this. So,
also, so the one you just mentioned, what do they all have in common? And you should probably, and I'm going to add the professor to this as well. What they all have in common is a great suite of equipment.
True.
So what needs to happen, or what should be happening, is all of these other heroes should probably be packing more like anti-equipment
hate.
just more equipment hate in general. And it's kind of funny because like I think I just couldn't help but realize like how well prepared like the mechanologists are against these equipment based heroes. There's a lot of anti-equipment attacks.
True, actually. Coming out of bright lights.
So. And I think that kind of plays into it better because a lot of them are also aggro, so they're not even trying to like fatigue. And so so their ability to evade the equipment and also being more aggressive, I think they do have the potential to be better than like currently perceived to be.
All the mechanologists. But that could also paint a target on their. They could paint a target on their back by the fatigue decks, where they're like, "These are the mechs. They're going to get around my suite of equipment. I should take them out first."
Yeah, but
convince the table to take them out first.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, but yeah, then you're just talking politics, and it's like, right, and I guess the question then becomes like, is the aggression that you would be putting onto the fatigue decks, would that instill any concern amongst everyone else that's
true? Yeah,
I guess doing whatever else, but at the same time, they would also be able to tell like who's the fatigue deck, and I'm sure after a while there would be like a good life differential where it's like, hey,
I'm sure if we have another year of like Taylor winning all the UPF events, it'll start being like, it'll be like that thing that people say, they don't even play UPF, but they're like, oh yeah, Taylor, that's the deck to beat. And then hopefully when people start sitting down at UPF tables, they're just like, oh, you're playing Taylor. Oh, frick, I need to kill you first. But I think for now it's not like that. I don't think people are like envisioning it that way, which I think is fine. Kevin, do you have anything you wanted to weigh in on this?
I think people are already aware that, or most like pro or semi-pro players already are aware to some degree that Taylor is nuts.
Yeah.
Just because Twitter exists.
True.
Even if they've never experienced it, they know that it's silly.
Yeah. Especially any format that has drone in it. So I think that's where it is. I think at the end of the day, though, and this is what I say this a lot on the UPF channel in Purple Discord, the main Flesh and Blood Discord. People will be like, rate my deck, or what's a card I need to swap out, or what's this and that, or I actually, the most common one you see is, hey, we're doing a UPF event at my LGS this Tuesday. What deck should I play to win? And it's like, well, this tier list and what you put in the deck is all important, and it matters when it comes to winning, right? You should have a game plan at least. But beyond that, most of winning UPF is like talking to people, like being social and like having good politics, and like I've dug myself out of so many holes in UPF games, but then also like I've played so many games with Ridge and like Will, where they're just like, nah, I ain't having any of I ain't having any of what Williams got dishing out. Like the good. They start knowing what deals to start taking instead of just taking all of my silly deals that I take. The UPF, there is better decks and worse decks, but also like at the same time you also just need to have good politics. So anything else you want to add to that?
Definitely. That's fun. Not really. Can I do a quick side rant?
Yeah, do a side rant.
That's like tangentially related.
Sure.
Okay. Thing that does annoy me on Twitter. Well, one of the things that annoy Twitter in the Fab space.
Yeah.
People complaining about box openings, the value that they get when they open a box.
Oh.
That I do find that very annoying, for a few reasons. One being that like Fab, as far as like the average ROI per box, is not bad compared to the like top TCGs. So I'm not sure like what standard that they're comparing like average box openings to. But like another thing is my problem is when people complain about the value of their collection, the easiest way to like add value to really anything is for it to have more purpose, right? We were just talking about UPF, and UPF, there's a wider variety of cards that you have access to that you can play with and are viable. And so it just feels weird to me when people talk about, you know, card values or whatever, and they only pay attention to class constructed. Like, that's...
Yeah. So,
yeah, like, if you're disparaging... Yeah, kind of really it. Like, if you are only paying attention to class constructed and you are, like, discouraging constructed, same time complaining about, like, how much your cards are worth, I just think that's dumb.
So I'm gonna go back to your first point, which was the box openings. I don't open boxes. I don't know what, Kevin, you'll have to fill in on that, because I don't know if Flesh of Blood boxes are good. The only metric I have to go for is if people are complaining about what they're getting out of their Flesh of Blood boxes. The professor at the Tolarian Community College, every time a set comes out, buys a box and he opens it to see the value of the box. And if he gets the value of the box, he'll buy another one, the booster box game. And it always fails. You never infinitely buy boxes. You eventually find a box you don't get your money's worth in. And that's the whole point of the entire thing. It's a bit where it's like, it's a gamble and you're gonna lose. That's what he's saying. When it comes to buying Magic the Gathering boxes, it's a gamble and you're gonna lose eventually. So that's the only thing I have to go by. How good are opening Flesh and Blood boxes? You do that, Kevin?
I did not open any for heavy hitters. I opened a case for Bright Lights. I opened 3 cases of Dust Till Dawn, and I think 5 of Outsiders.
Holy frick.
Yeah. I was prepping for the Pro Tour on Outsiders. So
true.
So part of this is there have been some sets of Flesh and Blood that have been kind of feels bad to open. Everfest was one of them, because on release, all of your cold foils were potions and talismans, and the Majestics hadn't settled in price yet, and all that stuff hadn't been figured out. So Everfest is not the greatest feeling to open. Dust Till Dawn is also likewise not the greatest feeling to open. Outsiders is also not great. All the legendaries are now like $15, $20, which doesn't feel good when you're opening it, especially if like you open a case and you get 2 legendaries and it's like $30-$40 out of a $300 case. That feels like you didn't get your money's worth, which I understand.
Yeah.
You also know that going in.
True.
Like I'm kind of halfway here with Charles.
Yeah.
where I think like you should understand that your EV on a box is you're only going to get over about 100 cases. Like that's actually how that works. And that's an LGS who does singles in large quantities.
Large quantities. Huge
Large
quantities.
And you're selling all the commons and rares.
True. Right?
That's
the
how
average
large your quantities are.
Yeah. The average person is not selling commons and rares, but an LGS could sell them for like, I don't know, a rare for what, like 50 cents? Maybe less than that? 10 cents? Yeah. If you're doing that, then you're getting every single penny out of that case.
Yes. Then your EV is decent. For Flesh and Blood, it is genuinely pretty good. Like, you're generally profiting off most sealed Flesh and Blood product. Opening it. If you sell all of it. As an individual, you're probably not opening enough cases to do that.
And even if you pull some of those chase cards, it's, I mean, what's the value? Like, let's say a box that an LGS would open, they get like $65 out of it in big cards, like cards that I would consider selling. But then they'll
gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, but also like they'll make up some of that, like a decent amount of the money, like maybe like $20 in singles from commons and rares.
Commons, rares, and majestics.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And so then at that point, you've almost got your value back. Whereas I would look at that box and be like, oh, I got $65 worth of value, as opposed to like, I don't know, $85. I'm making up numbers, but like the point is like they're extracting out
$20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. So like it is harder for individuals to open boxes and profit. You shouldn't expect a profit opening these boxes.
True.
I never did it expecting a profit. I did it because for outsiders, I wanted to get information for draft for the Pro Tour. That's why I opened that much.
Packs are for drafting. Packs are for drafting.
That's why I did it. Bright Lights, I did the same thing so that we would have data for that for prepping people for Worlds. Dusk Till Dawn, I did it because I wanted to and because I enjoyed it, and that was it.
Are you going to do it for heavy hitters?
I'm probably not going to, just because money was in a place where I couldn't.
Fair enough.
So I bought the common rare playset from SCG, and then Majestics and Legendaries that I thought were at good prices.
True. Can you please reread for me the name of our lovely friend in Twitch chat, who I always forget how to pronounce his name?
I wish I wasn't as congested, because I think I could actually pronounce it all right. Cartanauga.
They say they opened 7 cases of Bright Lights. What the frick?
Wow.
He said all of them were worth it except one. They opened 2 Marvel Teklovasins.
Yeah.
And
2 Marvel Teklovasins are an outlier already.
Yeah. That's huge. So like he's been getting his money worth. They say that they feel like it's been worth, like, most of the time, right?
Yes.
So
like as the number of cases you open gets larger,
yep,
the closer you get to EV, the closer you get to profit.
Also
hitting 2 of the high dollar chase cards, which are $400 plus US.
Yeah. You also are going to post on Twitter when you get a super mega chase card and when your case is terrible, but you're not going to post when you just break even or do kind of well. You're like, this works. You don't post that. So I do want to bring up your other point you brought up, which is old cards. Well, I'm going to say older cards. Older cards value. Cards that are out of meta in CC's value. I think you brought up a good point, and immediately what I thought of was Skullcap. Skullcap, it always blocks for 3. It always blocks for 3 in UPF.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
It should.
Almost. It should because it's yeah. Because you have more opportunities to be at a lower health than an opponent when you have more opponents. So already you just have a headpiece that blocks for 3. It's $20 right now. It's like you can get one for like $20. I know someone who's personally spent $170 on it when they needed one. It is $20 right now. It has gone down in price, but it's still a very decent card in UPF.
So this is the point that I wanted to disagree with on.
Yeah.
For like people who are kind of bemoaning or like I like halfway disagree. People who are upset that their collection is losing value. I sort of agree that they shouldn't care because it's like you have already spent that money. This is something that like I'm gonna approach
game pieces.
Game pieces. But it's like when people talk about like I had a friend who opened like one box of Dusk Till Dawn and opened a Scowling Fleshbag cold foil, and they were like, "All right, dope, that paid for the box." And then they were like, "Well, only if I actually sell it. I haven't actually sold this card yet.
True.
Do I actually have that money?" And the answer is no. You don't.
You have asset value, which is not.
You have a cold foil fleshbag, which is valuable. It is, especially now. Again, it's really valuable. I bet right now.
But it's like a stock
but
almost.
You don't. Yes, it's not realized value. It's invested.
Yeah.
And you need to, like, this is the thing. Like, people don't realize that like they want to have bought in with their money and then be able to just take it back out at the same amount. So if they buy a card, if they buy that flesh bag, they want to be able to sell it at the same price when they leave the game or the class or whatever. And they want that money back. But I think that's the wrong way to approach it. I think, yes, game pieces in a way, but it's a way that people approach computer games or just video games that I found, where it's like, if you spend $1 on a game per hour of playtime, that's worth it.
Yeah.
That's like the break point for most people. And people don't view trading card games that way because they're used to cards retaining some sort of value.
True.
Which is
not true
always true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just across the board, the whole industry is like a player's market now, pretty much. So,
yeah.
As a player, I love that. Right. So, like, my mindset, and this is not common, and this maybe is not healthy, or healthy for the ecosystem, is when I buy a card, its value disappears to nothing because I have spent it and I'm not selling it. If I bought the card, it's mine until I die. I have no reason to get rid of it. Also, like, you brought up the video games example. The way I like to think about it is if I, per hour in the game, I think of how much money I would actually make at my job, which at that point, it's like most games are paid for so instantly. Fast. Yeah, like an hour or two, and you've paid for it. Especially like those indie games for like $3. If I get an hour out of an indie game I spend $3 on, it's done.
Easy.
I've gotten it. It's great. That game, 10 out of 10, game of the year.
Yeah.
Value.
So like I think that's something that the TCG space needs a little bit more of. Just a touch, not a huge amount. Because like I don't like when I have a card and suddenly its value plummets and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not using this card either right now, and now I can't sell it back for something. So now I feel like I did lose money even though I already spent it. Like it feels like I did lose an opportunity.
And you did use it too?
Maybe. Not necessarily. Because I for sure have cards in my collection that I haven't used.
True.
But I had just in case I ended up playing a certain class or something was really good.
Did you use them in testing?
Or just maybe.
Does that count? A little?
Not with Talishar existing.
Oh, I guess that's true. I guess that actually is true. I'm gonna let Charles. Go ahead.
I also like it's gonna vary person to person. Like if you're just purely competitive player and the only thing you do with cards is buy them to play them, you're gonna be in a certain spot. If you're only a collector, then you're gonna definitely be in another spot.
Fully different.
Where it's like your first edition pink foil, whatever, Crippling Crush. is you want that to retain value because that's a really kind of iconic card for the game. But as a player, you don't care what the value of your just unlimited majestic foil crippling crush is. That's not as important to you necessarily. I think I put myself somewhere in the middle of I like having the collection, I like having all the cards, I like having all the legendaries. When Heavy Hitters came out, I saw that SCG listed Balance for $50, Grains for like 25, Bonebreaker for like 22,
decent price,
and Aurum at 20.
Wow.
They listed all 4 of those legendaries way below their actual price, in my opinion, and I snapped them up, and I 100% worth it. And if the prices were to drop back to that, I would be fine with it. Those are prices I am totally okay with paying for those cards and then losing money on, because those cards are worth that, in my opinion.
So, Charles,
but the fact that all of them went up,
yeah, great, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add to it?
Selling some of them back.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, that was pretty much it. Just, I think it's going to keep pushing for people to keep playing these cards in different ways and keep maintaining the, that's just the easiest way to just give value, is to give them purpose. And, maybe one day, like, Commoner will be one of the most popular formats in the world, and then suddenly every common is worth a little bit more, and people won't feel so bad about their box openings or whatever.
I feel like as long as there are card game players, the majority will prefer very high-powered formats. So I think CCLL and maybe UPF will be the most popular formats come 5-10 years from now. But
UPF becoming the most popular format would do very good things for people's collections.
Yes. Holy frick.
In terms of monetary value.
Yeah.
If that was I'll put it this way. If that was the most popular format where like the number of people who play CC now stayed the same, but then the ratio just swapped where UPF was like 10 times or 50 times or whatever it is, I mean, all the CC players wouldn't complain about their collection value.
No, they wouldn't. All right.
Right.
I think that about wraps it up. Thank you for the call. Anything you want to shout out? Like our Patreon?
Yeah, I mean, you guys should totally check out the Table Pits Patreon.
Heck yeah. How about yourself? Are you doing anything? You got any upcoming projects?
Also, you sure you check in when Dreams is smart thing now? Well, I got my PC, I got my table, like I just ordered my desk.
Heck yeah.
And my webcam. So, yeah, train's about to start rolling really quickly.
Let's go. All right, that's super exciting. Thank you so much for the call. We'll catch you next time. Next week. I'll take that as a heck yeah. Thank you so much for calling. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you wanted to add, Kevin?
I don't think so.
Yeah. There was a lot of like the UPF discussion's really interesting to me, though I don't always know how to articulate what I'm trying to get out of it. But the cases and card value things is also super interesting. And it seemed like people had a lot of opinions about it in chat too.
I think that's something like we've talked about before, where it's like the boxes have to have some sort of consistent value for stores to open them for singles. Yeah. For competitive players. They have to. Yeah. Draft alone doesn't open enough product to fuel the singles market for Constructed.
Unfortunately, unless you live where Yuki lives, because they draft about 5 times a week or whatever.
Yeah, Vancouver has like 4 draft armories a week or some crazy amount.
I gotta move to Vancouver. Is that on the East Coast or West Coast? Which one's that?
That's West Coast.
West Coast? Frick.
They're the ones who always complain that they're East Coast US events.
Oh, yes. I have heard that.
Do they somehow still complain about Vegas? They probably still complain about Vegas, I think. I don't know.
Probably. That's in the southern part of the U.S. I would complain about it.
It's not southern. It's like central West Coast. Like it's about as close as they're gonna get unless they pick like Seattle or something.
I gotta look up where Vegas is. This is another moment we were talking about earlier. How I'm too American. I don't know where Vegas is on the map.
You don't know your geography because you're American.
Yeah. Oh, I spelled loss wrong. It's more southern than we are.
No shot.
Yeah, shot. Yeah. Yeah, that's more southern than we are.
I'm literally
just it's pretty close. It's actually pretty close, but like
yeah, I was gonna say,
if it was on the East Coast, it'd be like a 3-hour drive.
Okay, that is actually the southern tip of Nevada.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what I thought. All right.
I don't know. There's only one thing in Nevada, so I didn't know where it was in Nevada.
And join us next week when we roast a different state.
I mean, we also roasted Vancouver halfway in that, so
it's true. Jeez, there's no locality is sacred. We are gonna roast them all. Yeah. Do you want to grab our next caller while I read out a bit of the chat?
You roast Germany.
Yes.
Sure.
No. I kind of like Germany. All right. So since we've started the show, we have gotten another follow by Harrison. I'm so bad with names. Please let me know how that's pronounced. Harrison? That's what I'm going to say. They said, they're a big fan. You guys have always helped me improve through my gameplay, though. And I love that. I love hearing that we were able to do anything. It is, I don't know if you saw, but like when you probably saw me look at it on the other monitor, and I got the hugest grin on my face. It is maybe the most happy thing that I've heard in quite a while. They also said my next tattoo will be, quote, "Packs are for drafting," and I love that. I could see myself having like draft packs on my first digits of my fingers. That's exactly.
Yeah, or on your face.
Or on my
right
face.
Over your eyes.
Like under my eyes, just like draft packs or something. Or like replace my eyebrows with that.
Yeah, that would be great.
My non-existent eyebrows. All right.
Yeah, you can crowdfund it, probably.
Okay, so we have a caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Kartnauge. I know German. Don't try. But you said it pretty. Yeah, it was pretty well. Trying to pronounce it. And my question is, in hindsight of the last placing and looking at the tops from the CC event, is KO the next broken hero?
Ooh.
No.
Ooh. Wait. No. Elaborate. Tell me, what do you mean by broken?
There are a couple of videos. For example, let's talk about the video that Savageland News did, where he has gone over all the math that KO has. For example, like Bear Fangs 2 for 9, stuff like that. And if you look at the averages, for example, if I play KO aggro with like Berserk, for example, I did a 51 damage turn, 42 damage turn. Average of like probably 18, stuff like that, if I don't need to block, and that's like really crazy numbers. And if you go for the mid-range variant, you're like at around 14-15 points of value each round, and that's from the math point more than other decks do, and that's maybe why he's so consistent with different things. So the question is he just good because he has the numbers, or is it people don't know how to play against it, or can you even, for example, sideboard against KO because it's just like, yeah, sand packing and Bear Fangs, 2 cards for 9, you know what I mean? It's like, are his numbers too good?
That's interesting. I mean, so the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to reword it just a little bit for clarity in my head, which I'm going to say is KO the like tier 0 deck.
Yeah, the deck to beat.
The deck to beat, the tier 0 deck, and saying it this way really denotes that it's It's completely separate from everything else in the meta right now.
Because it includes the math you have to do for the cards, and it includes like your matchup table, because that's like a big point as well. Does he have, for example, weaknesses like Dromai against, Guardians and stuff like that? And in my opinion, he has no glaring weaknesses if you play the mid-range variant. So is he the deck to beat? What's your opinion? I'm really curious about your take. I mean, if you look at Yuki, I mean, she basically crushed the tournament.
Yeah. The only thing I'll start with is if we're going to talk about numbers, the numbers on that are really good, right? So Michael Hamilton did remind people that when you play an attack action card, its defense value doesn't matter. Right? So like when Wounded Bull was played, it didn't matter that it only blocked for 2. He was like, I don't understand why people calculate that into the quality of the card. I was one of those people. I was doing the value to 8.
3 block.
Yeah, the value to 8 where you calculate.
I mean, the best example is White Ride or Bear Fangs, right? They don't
Bear
block,
Fangs.
but they are like really. I mean, White Ride is 6 go again.
Bear Fangs is a better example, in my opinion.
It's a more simpler example. You get to the root of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Wild Ride, you have inherently higher risk because if it does miss, because you do have one card coming off the top of the deck that you don't know. If it does miss, you strand yourself with somewhere between 1 and 2 cards, I would assume, which means you just lose somewhere between 3 and 6 value. Probably. Bear Fangs is going to be significantly more consistent, and still 2-card 9 is very good.
2-card 9 is huge.
It's insane.
So
it's actually insane.
Bear Fangs is a 2 for 6. Draw a card, discard a card at random. If it's a 6-powered attack, it gets +2. Also, KO says when you discard a card with 6-power attack, create a might token. That's 1 value for the next turn. This is why it's 0 for 9. Or 2 for 9.
It's better than actually Swing Big.
True.
In KO.
Yes. KO also has the text that says your cards have +1 attack in any zone besides the combat chain. This means that any card you discard has +1 on it, which means any 5s you discard are counted as 6s. This includes most of your blues, some of your yellows, and even Ravenous Rabble if you get crazy enough. But KO
Red Ravenous Rabble is a 5. Yeah. Oh my god.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I didn't even think about that.
It's probably still bad in KO. Don't do it. Although, if you want to know what the top card of your deck is for a draw discard.
Yo! Wait, it's all coming together. Also, wait, I mean, I assume your red count is really high, right?
No.
No? You have a lot of yellows?
Red count was only like 18 main deck.
Yeah.
She's very mid-range.
Half.
It's
that is
really
very
mid-range.
Value.
So I don't think KO is tier 0. I haven't seen that yet. As to the Berserk point, I think basically no builds of KO that did well this weekend were on Berserk. It's too inconsistent.
Called it. Berserk sucks.
It does.
Yeah,
go on.
It sucks if you're trying to win a tournament.
It's too inconsistent.
It sucks. True.
Yeah, so if you're trying to win a tournament where if you brick, you're just done, like a Battle Hardened where you basically have to go X1.
X1 is hard. Holy frick.
And you're if you play Berserk in your deck, you're choosing to give up 1 game just to Berserk.
Kind of like old Levia, where people used to say that you're going to lose 1 game a tournament at least just to Levia. Or 2, yeah. Now,
like before, I think it was 2. Now I think it's 1.
I agree with Berserk that it's like, if you go, for example, like a short tournament, like a skirmish, you go for it. Why not?
Sure.
Because,
skirmish.
Go for the fun.
Blitz.
But if you, for example, look at the numbers from KO, like the, let's say, 16 average he does, I mean, he got a great piece of armor in his for his arms.
Yes,
it's 5 value.
Fantastic.
We don't need to talk about that.
His headpiece is already great.
And I think I think the headpiece is insane.
Yeah.
And I think for the arm piece, it's borderline too strong 5 value, because if you look at like which arm pieces were banned in CC lately, For example, you have Stubby's banned because it made 6 value. You had the banning of the Bullseye Brazos because it was like 6 value a turn. So is 5 too strong for an arm piece? I mean, maybe not, because you have to give a card to block with it as well. But it's still like great value. We don't need to talk about that. And then you have like, if you have an average of 16, that are basically numbers of Lexi. And Lexi was the deck to beat and maybe tier 0 at one point. You could argue. But yeah, but
I think on Pit Against argued it wasn't tier 0.
Yeah. I think it was like the deck to beat, but not tier 0. Yeah.
It was tier 0.5 when it had bracers. And then it dropped to tier 1, but the top of tier 1 when it didn't have bracers.
Absolutely.
I think right now we probably put it at tier 1, top of tier 1.
So we can agree that the numbers of KO mid-range are really good.
Yes. KO has no on-hits, while Lexi had on-hits on literally every attack.
Well, if you look at the new card, you have basically on-hits.
Which one?
You have 3 more on-hits. You do have 100% more on-hits than you did before, which is to say you have 6 now instead of 3.
Wait, does swing big count as an on hit?
No.
It's like the opposite of an on hit.
I mean
on hit, your opponent doesn't get a quicken token.
I mean, what are KO's weaknesses? Because if we talk about if a deck is too good, we have to talk about what are weaknesses, right?
Sure. His weakness is that he only asks his opponent one question: is can you do numbers better than I do? And part of that, there's 2 ways to answer that. One, yes. There's 2 ways to answer that and win. The answer is 1, yes, and you do better numbers than they do. 2, no, but I'm going to make your numbers so bad that I beat you.
Or 3, cheat.
Yeah, I mean, the second point gets weaker because we don't have no ice heroes anymore. But yeah,
True.
I think Kano is like maybe a really hard matchup for KO.
I disagree, especially for Yuki's list. I think Yuki's list is going to do fine. It naturally runs AB3 and is more resource heavy than some of the other aggro KO lists that we've seen.
Is top 8 out yet for the Battle Hardened?
Like yes, not the VODs.
Not the VODs.
The VODs are not out. I think
we have 6, 7, and 8 of the VODs, but we know what top 8 was.
Because Yuki plays Majin Bay
in the finals
on Kano.
Yes,
which we all know she beat him, but I'd like to know how.
Oh, I'm really curious about how to. Yeah. But let's come back to the matchup table, for example, for KO. Let's finish the weakness talk first. Which deck would be good against KO?
So I don't even think that Icelander would necessarily. If Icelander was still in meta, I don't know that Icelander would even be a good deck into KO, because you just, like you said, there's 2 card 9s, and then Icelander's like, I have 2 card 8s. I can't respond to your 2 card 9. Shit.
The disruption's all right though.
Yeah, the disruption isn't bad. If they play a Blood Rush Bellows, then you play Channel Lake Frigid, then they're sad. They are.
Yes.
They were only swinging 1 claw anyways, but they're there now. I think the thing that has to happen is decks with on hits have to reappear for KO to be punished.
So what decks have on hits?
So are you talking about Uzuri?
Uzuri wouldn't be the worst into KO.
I was thinking like Azalea and Bravo.
Azalea is a deck that I'm more likely to lean towards for this.
Azalea can really high roll it, true.
Azalea, also just Red in the Ledger is going to be okay.
It's
the new card
doesn't matter.
It's not that it doesn't matter, but it matters less than other aggro decks.
Yeah.
Judge, Jury, Executioner is probably the strongest card in that arsenal.
What's the one that deals damage? Like if they do things, they bleed.
Bloodrot? You mean Remorseless?
Remorseless, yeah.
Where they take health for each action card played.
You do that, and they have the Blood Rush in Arsenal, and they're like, "Frick!"
They just take 3 extra.
To be fair, you can counter a Jury with No Fear.
Yeah, No Fear is a great way to get around Azalea.
Fear. Oh my god.
It is.
No Fear is so good.
Like No Fear is a very serious card that people underestimated because Cast Bones existed, and then No Fear just kind of is going to creep along and just be like, yeah, just pay attention to the other guy. The other guy, he's the problem. He's the problem. I'm fine.
No Fear is good against Crippling Crush, by the way.
Yeah. No Fear is really good against
Holy
all
frick.
of the disruptive on hits that are like discards.
Absolutely.
It doesn't do as much into like the Azalea that's just like raw damage.
Armpit says, remember we thought that card was just okay?
But what you have to think about is you prevent damage without losing cards in hand. If you have No Fear in Arsenal and 4 cards in hand, you prevent 6 damage and didn't have to block with a card. So No Fear blocked for 6 basically.
Yes, you had a 1-card 6 block, which is very good. It is.
More numbers.
Like, yeah, more numbers. Like, it in Cast Bones being 0 for 6s on average, which I'm saying Cast Bones is a 0 for 6 on average because the difference between
Can be
heading
higher.
5 and 6 is actually maybe depends on your sideboard.
To be fair,
sideboard, but
the interaction a lot of people don't know with Cast Bones is that that it checks if you have 6 might tokens after resolving the spell and gives you an agility. So if you have a might token before from something to discard, you get, if you only show 5, still the agility token.
That showed up in the...
I think most people in Hartford did know that by that point.
Yes,
that showed up in...
the commentator didn't.
Yeah, the commentators didn't know that when they were going over Yuki versus the Victor.
Yeah.
And she had a... She already had a might token, and then she played Cast Bones.
Was this...
Like, she created one and then later?
That was the Push the Point commentary, guys?
I don't... Probably?
I think it was. They have their calling this weekend, so...
Okay.
They'll be caught up by then.
Yeah, they called up. They read the card in the commentary and said, "Oh, right, you don't need to show 6."
Yes, it just.
But it's an upside.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I think Cast Bones is on average going to be about 6 value because the jump from 5 to 8 value on an agility token is very real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But none of this has led me to like KO is a broken deck. It's a tier 0 deck. It is a strong deck. It is a very good numbers deck. I don't think it is busted. I think Dash can out aggro it. If the KO doesn't try and switch to fatigue and just blow up items, which is not necessarily easy for KO to do. I would actually want to see Yuki's list against a Dash before saying that, because a lot of the KO lists I saw had like 12 no blocks in the deck at least, and it would probably go to 15-ish against Dash.
So, also, Majin made top 8. He not only made top 8, he made top 8 in second. He got second in Swiss. And he beat a KO on his way to the finals.
Yes.
In the top 8.
About this game?
I didn't hear about this game, but I assume that KO's got game into it, right? Or is there something...
Very good game.
Okay, yeah.
It's roughly equivalent to the Dash matchup for Kano, which is bad.
That's bad.
Yes. Because Brute basically just has AB3 for free, the same way that Dash does.
Yep.
Went to play his KO, the KO player, went to play a Wild Ride.
Okay.
And did not draw the card. They just discarded.
That's not right. That's not how that works.
Yes. So they literally just went -1 card and then Kano combo. Because they just went -1 card.
Ooh. Is that like a judge problem? That sounds like a...
Yes, because the judge just said, yes, we're going to play this out.
Is that how that works?
So I don't think so, because that's not a mistrigger. That's not something... That was something literally just done incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, that is not something was just skipped. That is, you took this piece of text and you executed it, only half of it. I
only understand this a little bit. I assume it'd be like a penalty or a warning, and then you go back to the point of that, right?
It would be I understand. I would guess it would be a games rules violation or something similar to that. And then it would, if there was a way to remedy it where you could maintain the randomness of the draw discard, it would be draw discard. and there's already the penalty of you revealed what card is there, and then it still has to be a random choice, so they would just roll a die for whatever card is discarded. But they would know whether or not that was the random card discarded.
But it wouldn't be like
a drawn card.
It wouldn't be a major penalty, and they probably would go back and redo it, right?
It should have just been rewound.
Okay.
Well, be careful, because the thing is, if the opponent can like claim that my opponent intentionally didn't remind me, then it gets like really difficult. Because if the opponent intentionally doesn't remind him and goes off to win the game, it's borders on cheating. Yes,
the judge specifically at the game said, we're going to play this.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I don't know the exact context of what the Kano of what Majin did. I know that the judge okayed the situation, though.
I think that's not okay.
Which I disagree with. I don't know. I don't recall exactly what happened for what Majin did for it. I'll go watch his story time again and see if he says. But I just know that happened. The judge okayed it, and that probably decided the game because Majin lost to Yuki twice in the event. He lost round 8 in CC, or in Swiss, and then he lost the finals.
Does Majin have a Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh. I can't immediately find it, so I'm like, huh.
Two eyes.
Oh, okay. So the only thing I would say is, yes, 2 eyes. Wow. Is the first thing I would say is when it comes to judge rulings, and I understand that there were probably mistakes going on. There's rumors of, judge mistakes happening at the event. I'm just going to assume, because if players don't have confidence in the judge's ability to judge, the whole system falls apart. So I'm going to assume what was done at the time was the correct decision, and if there needs to be changes done afterwards, they'll make those decisions, whether or not it's, I don't know how they would remedy that, but...
Yes, their ruling at the table is final. That is it. And then we can adjust, we can deal with later whether they came to the correct conclusion. If they didn't, what needs to change.
Yeah.
But what they say at the table is final.
So that
or you can appeal that. And
so Majin was able to win. He won right there. Is that right?
I believe
that how you heard it?
So.
That's
my understanding is that is what led to him winning the game.
Okay. I mean, when you're down an entire card,
he comboed off.
Yeah. When you're down an entire card, that makes sense. So
your AB3 opponent being down an entire card is a great signal for you as a Kano player to go off.
All right.
I believe his game against Yuki, I don't know if this was the finals or round 8. She dealt 9 damage to him on turn 0.
Holy frick.
So he started the game at 21 to her 40.
Holy frick.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
I'm looking at that picture that Peter posted, Mr. Mask of Momentum, where he's like casual 64 damage from Majin in the battle hard top 8.
Yes. Yep.
That's against the dash though.
That is against a hard control dash.
That's against Rose. Oh, that's against Rose. Yes. Holy frick.
Rose has been on hard control dash for a couple months now. Like Tunic AB4 control dash. Which wizards are salivating at.
Yeah, that's
how did you win that?
Pretty good. Oh, you just build your deck.
Hmm?
You just choose your next hands. Your next 10 hands, and then make the 100 damage
I just pitch
combo.
stack everything. I just get to do whatever I want as Icelander or Kano. You're not threatening my life total? Lovely. Thank you.
I'll make a deck. I will construct a deck in front of you.
I will pitch stack fused Aether Ice Vein with triple Insidious Chill into double Ice Eternal.
To be fair, you don't accidentally do it. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to be able to set it up, and it's... In my experience, very hard to do. They give you all the room in the world. True, but like if you haven't done it before, you're not going to make it.
Yes. There's just no matchup where it's easier to do it.
So, yeah, it is pretty cool.
Although
64
my understanding is that
damage.
he actually did that 63 before he hit his pitch stack, because he just tapped down and he just kind of went for it because he was like in the middle of just like he was like pitching cards just to like pitch stack.
Yeah.
And then he just hit like the double wildfire, and it's like, okay,
I'll try this.
I'm just killing you now.
Yeah, Kano's crazy. Okay, so I mean, Kano has game
Kano's
into
a real
everyone.
fucking deck.
Yeah, it's a real deck.
Kano's a real deck.
It's a real
Respect
deck.
him.
Yeah.
Guardian players, put your 83 deck in.
Yes, already. When I mean, RTN season is starting now, right? Obviously, Liverpool is tomorrow. I'm not sure. Probably you both not at
This
Liverpool.
I unfortunately will not be able to make it to Liverpool. This is my public announcement of that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cannot make it either, even if I'm from Germany, because I don't have the time and money to make it happen.
Yeah.
But my question is, RTN season is starting. What is your deck to bring for the maybe first CC? Are you confident with what you already play, or will you change it up to something new?
I can answer this really quickly, and then we can go into Kevin's more, I assume, winded answer than mine. Because mine is, I have the money for one class, so I'm going to keep playing Bravo, and I don't even have the money to like test Victor right now because I blew it all on a bunch of other crap. So I'm going to just be playing Bravo. I might go to one RT. I'm not trying to go to Nationals because Nationals is on the freaking, it's not in a driving distance from my house. So
Are you qualified for Nationals already? With your ELO? Because they've changed it that you can qualify with ELO.
Well, I have no ELO, so I'm negative ELO.
Are you sure?
You do have ELO. It's just below 1500.
Where's my? I'm gonna look this up live. Okay, all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna play Bravo, and if I want to have fun, I might build Betsy because I think that's pretty cheap. It's gonna be swapping literally 6 cards, in my opinion. I think she just plays Bravo's deck.
Isn't okay? On Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin,
What's
what are you
your
doing
take on it
as a professional player?
So if you do not have a deck that you are comfortable with, play KO. Like if you don't have a deck that you are supremely comfortable with, play KO.
Play KO.
It is a solid deck. It is also probably a relatively easy deck to get to that 70 or 80% mark on.
Wait, what ELO do I need to qualify?
Top probably 200 in the country.
To be like, what number would that be?
I don't know.
Like, is it greater than or less than 1,483?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, my limited ELO is almost 1,500.
Yes, but we don't have combined yet, which is what they're going to
Yeah, we need combined ELO for that.
I don't think I will be qualifying on ELO because my limited ELO is now 1403.
What?
I'm better at ELO. I'm better at limited than you.
Yeah.
Technically.
My limited ELO is trash, but my constructed ELO is up to 1661.
Yo!
Oh, nice. Great. Congrats.
Holy wait, what country rank is that?
I have...
I went plus 13.
What country rank is your constructed ELO?
128.
That's...
And I think I'm probably actually top 100.
120.
I guess.
Yeah, I think if your ELO, if your ELO was in Germany, you are top 20.
Probably. I mean, it's a smaller country, right? And so
yes, yeah. We only have 160 slots for the nationals.
Ah, okay. Wait, how many do we have?
600.
600. Holy frick!
We're gonna have about 500 players qualify off RTN stuff.
Neither of my ELOs reaches the 600 range. I'm top 1,350 in limited though. So
you, Kevin, what are you gonna take?
I'm probably just gonna take Dromai.
Oh,
Dromai
nice.
That I'm
playing a lot of Dromai.
Did you watch the match from Dromai against Kasai?
I have not yet. It is on my list to watch.
It's 40-1.
40-1.
Dromai didn't. Yes, he didn't lose life. He was over 40 at some point, and he didn't lose life.
Holy frick. I have to watch that. Holy frick. I'm going to watch that right afterwards.
That's not surprising.
Holy frick.
He's a very good player.
it was just brutal.
Yeah, Evan Herndon, I believe, was the Dromai pilot. Yeah.
It was on camera.
Yeah.
Yes.
They killed
Evan
a guy
Herndon
on
is a
camera.
Yeah, Evan against Daniel Ferrara.
Yeah.
And he killed the Kasai at 40 points of life.
Yeah. Evan is an extremely proficient player. He hasn't played a ton of Dromai. He was known mostly for his Lexi. I believe he top 8'd US Nats.
Wow.
Last year, he also won a Battle Hardened on Lexi. I think he started 8-0 at US Nats or 7-0 at US Nats. He's an extremely good player. He was on the Big Dragon variant, which is a little bit more defensive, and probably is just always going to kick Kasai's teeth in, and there's nothing.
Kasai. I don't know how Kasai will win against Dromai, to be fair.
Kasai is going to do a little bit better into the aggro variants of Dromai, and is going to do literally nothing into the Big Dragon control variants because she can't kill Uvia.
True.
Ever.
I mean, yeah, I really don't know how Kasai will win. I really don't know.
Can
she just kind of has to race.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
It is.
That's what I was going to ask.
It's extremely difficult.
How much of a race can Cassie bring to the table?
Not a ton. Not enough.
What I like to ask with the information you're gonna play Dromai, what is your opinion with Dromai against KO?
It's rough. Like it is genuinely, it's probably Dromai's worst matchup. I still think it is not worse than 40-60. From what I found.
I wouldn't say it's the worst. I think Reiner could be worse.
I think KO is much worse than Reinar.
Okay.
Because Reinar can't race you to a board state. KO can absolutely race you to a board state.
I mean, if you can attack with Go Again Claw for 4 at Miragai, it's pretty good with KO.
Yes. That's also the issue with the KO matchup, is those might tokens are so good for dealing with Miragai.
Oh, right. We didn't talk about what do might tokens do for the breakpoints, because a might token with CC, for example, is like so huge.
Command and Conquer with a might token. Send hacking with a might token.
Yes.
Gross.
I mean, that's more than one value, right? I mean,
that breakpoint is huge.
Yes. Even against Guardians and anything, it's like really, really huge. And I really like the interaction. Yuki did it on stream as well. You can attack with Claw. The opponent has to decide, okay, what do I do? And then you can discard like a wind up, and the Claw gets Go Again on the combat chain.
So crazy. I love that.
Yeah, that's a neat little interaction. I do think the KO always having a might token, you do have to be careful when you play Mirror Guys, because if they have the agility, I don't care as much if they have the might. I care if they have the agility to go with it.
A question, because the matchup, if you look at Luki's list against Dromai or Kasai or stuff like that, the clash agility are so huge in the matchups, right? Because you can basically not win the clash.
Yes and no, because the clashes don't work when they block dragons.
Oh, they don't?
No, it says the attacking hero.
Wow, actually. And you can't arsenal them, and they're a red, so it's really hard to get rid of if they don't throw a physical attack at you. That's interesting.
So you play those matchups very strangely.
Kevin, let me ask, because the card says when this defense clash with the attacking hero.
Yep.
And you say it doesn't clash because you pop the dragons?
No, not because you pop the dragon. Because the thing that is attacking is the dragon.
The dragon doesn't have a deck. It wouldn't be legal for the deck for the dragon to have a deck.
If you look at Storm of Sandakai.
Because if you block and he says clash with the attacking hero, but the allies don't count as attacking from the hero.
Yes,
but
the attack ability is given to the ally by Storm of Sandakai.
But if Uvia is able to get 60 Ashwings, then that counts as a full deck, and you would clash with an Ashwing.
No, but there are.
You need 80
like
for that.
True.
There are things like that you can kind of take advantage of, and it changes the way that you have to play that matchup as Dromai. where I'm playing in my first 3 or 4 hands to make as many annoying dragons as possible. That is Yenderize, that is Ashwings, and that is Mirror Guys and Kylorias when I have the opportunity. If there's a Mirror Guy Kyloria down, they have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And you will probably play with Phantasmal, right?
Phantasmal Footsteps? No, because those don't work on dragons.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to wrap this conversation up with one final question.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
How does Hartford change the metagame going forward? So we had an idea of what the meta looked like, and we had a little bit of a, we had a tier list discussion last week, but Hartford happened. We got to see these cards in action, played by some of the best people in the United States and in the North American region. How much do you think it's changed people's perception of decks?
I don't think it changed their perceptions that much. I think people had roughly this meta as like the top 8 for Hartford for the Battle Hardened. I don't think was too surprising to many people. I think people were just waiting for what the KO deck would look like.
We found it.
Did this. That was the actual piece that I think people were missing, and I think people aren't. I don't think most people are surprised that KO did well. They just wanted to know what the deck looked like that would do this.
What about people that didn't do well?
I think they may have a little bit underrated KO from the power he brings to the table, or maybe because they didn't have the consistency in mind that Yuki showed.
True.
Yeah, because I mean, people were like, yeah, Berserk, yes, no, and stuff like that. And I think people maybe underrated how good Victor may be, because I saw on stream, for example, a Royal Victor.
That looked garbage.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it. I thought that looked garbage.
I don't think it's the right choice, but people are experimenting. But I think that people prefer Victor over Bravo is like
20 Victors, 13 Bravos.
Yeah.
Two Bravos, top 8, no Victors.
Exactly. I think Victor might not be as solved yet, or it might not be as good as everyone's expecting. It just doesn't have the matchups.
I think Victor is strictly worse, and I think people should have known that if they played any games of it into Bravo.
played the Guardian versus Guardian matchup. Oh, another one I wanted to bring up was Azalea. 16 Azaleas.
That one did underperform.
0 and top 8.
That was a surprise. 0 and top 8, but 0 threatening, I thought.
I think Azalea is not favored into all the Guardian matchups, maybe. And
she's gonna have a rough time into Bravo, not super rough time, but a rough time. She'll have a rough time into Victor.
Into Dromai, maybe.
I don't know if she has a rough time into Victor, because some Victors aren't running D-Reacts.
Victor wins every clash he wants to, though.
Yes.
So you just have to determine if your value is better. Yeah, but I mean, she gets all the on hits that she wants through with dominating
which
stuff.
Don't matter. I mean, she has one on hit that matters against him, which is your barbed undertow / judge jury.
Okay, that's true.
That's the only hit that he really cares about.
Yeah, I think Azalea is maybe better against aggro decks, where she can do more disruption.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, she loves aggro decks.
Yes, and we don't really have a mid-range. For example, Winsett and Viserai are not up to par currently, even with the Sonata Galactica, or how it's called.
I think this is just an aggro deck.
I think they are not good enough to force opponents to split their builds and maybe change it. So maybe people are experimenting with Reiner still. If you look at the table, but
Reiner is going to see some work in the next month or two, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. But I think overall that the meta is, I think the top 8 is pretty telling from Hartford. KO, obviously good deck. Bravo, still really good deck. I mean, maybe it's not as good against KO, but against everything else on the table, right?
Bravo's just solid.
The disruption he can bring is better against other decks than KO, but it's super solid. And if he high rolls and you don't have a no fear, you can just dominate, crippling, crush you into oblivion. Yeah. And it happened on me on Battle Hardened on stream. There he high rolled me until I was gone. And you can. It's hard to recover.
Yeah.
Sometimes. It's the same with Azalea. She can just 5 red in the ledgers, jury, it can
Insane.
be really. But
yeah, Bravo is for sure a deck that if you don't have a plan for it right now, you're doing it wrong. Like,
what in that hindsight, I had one card, Ripple Away. What do you think? Because I think it can be really great against Victor. It can be good against Bravo for his token, maybe, and it's great against Azalea's Codex of Frailty. But is it good enough? Because it's blue and blocks for 3, actually.
It is a blue block 3.
Is that the one with the tiger on it?
Yes.
Probably. I think it's still too niche. It's too unreliable still.
I mean, if you deny a Ponder, it already did, what it needed to do. For example, against Codex. And I think it can be a really good card against Azalea, for example.
I think it's the ability
discard
to be
a card
from Arsenal.
It's discard
it
to stop a token.
Any tokens that would be created this turn create 1 less.
Yeah, you don't get Frailty, she doesn't get Ponder and stuff like that.
So if they were to trounce...
Oh, that's good against trounce.
If they were to trounce, it prevents all the tokens from being made.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and to be fair, it is good against Dromai as well. You don't do Ashwings.
You would make 1 less Ashwing from something. You would still make all the Ash.
No, you don't make Ash. Ash are tokens.
Yes, you do.
Oh, you do?
Ash is made by Dromai, not by an action card.
Oh, true.
So
if an action card would
stop the Ash from Rake the Embers.
Because Rake the Embers makes Ash.
Yeah.
Yes. It would stop the Ash from Rake the Embers or Dust Up.
Completely turns off your blue Rake the Embers.
Okay.
Yeah. But it would not stop any Ash from Dromai.
Okay.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying, can be a card, for example, that has impact? Because it's a blue block 3. That's not a bad choice to put into a deck.
Like, its floor is fine. I think in a deck where you can use your blues very reliably, maybe. So if this is a deck, if this is a Guardian deck where they have a 3-for-4 hammer, you might be able to sneak it in if you have a slot. If this was Icelander and you frequently had 2 card eights that you could throw, or even just a Fused Ice Vein where this was your pitch card, or Coronet Peak if you didn't have to worry about pitching an ice card to it, maybe.
Hey, so
but
it's really niche. It's really niche. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Dromai didn't convert.
Dromai did not convert.
The most played,
I think,
character.
Yes,
I think it's top.
There were 2 in top 16. I think there was at least 1 in top 16, which
It reminds me of
none converted.
It reminds me of old metas where people would be like, Prism was the most.
Dromai didn't convert.
Well, yeah, but it was like Illusionist is the most commonly played hero. Also, it didn't convert. So
yes.
It's reliving that story.
I think the CC meta will maybe shift to some % because people see how consistent KO is and maybe try to put their thump in. We have like a new meta for Blitz as well. If you look at the last tournament, where final victor against Vincent was great. Happy to see my girl Vincent up there. I think that heavy hitters was really good for overall playstyle and cards diversity, cards to play, but the prices are really high for cards right now.
They're a bit higher.
I mean, Cast Bones cost 30 euros. A lot of cards cost around 20 up, and it's like one of the more expensive Majestic sets we had.
This is still,
it's
still less than a week after release.
True.
So and these prices always drop off relatively quickly.
I don't think they will drop before RTN.
Yes, that was the thing I was about to say, is they're not going to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to wrap this conversation up.
Yes.
Just because I realized it's 9:30 our time. So we've been going on about 30 minutes longer than we normally do, which is great. I've been enjoying this conversation. But just to wrap this particular video up, I want to say specifically thank you again for the call. Is there anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, thank you for doing great content. I really love the insight and the different standpoints where we can discuss different opinions and stuff like that. So thank you for that. And if I can, I will always be here. I mean, it's really late for me here.
Yeah.
But I will make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you next week. Same time?
I hope so.
Heck yeah. That would be super cool. That mostly wraps it up. Kevin, was there anything else you wanted to say?
Nope.
Classic Kevin.
Nope. Kevin is happy.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Yes. Bye.